The day we get a regular mic check from you, that's the world's ending.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess I do.
Okay.
Oh, it's too funny.
Are we going to mention the passing of the Queen?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Do you, unless you want to, we can.
Well,
Fran, down with the whole monarchy. I don't believe in that stuff.
No, it's just historically.
They're evil people. I agree.
She did some nice things. She was a sweet old lady. She was probably a great grandma.
Well,
or great grandma.
Yeah.
How many greats? Was she a great grandma?
Great grandma.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the monarchy.
Well, in 1951, when she became queen, she was a young woman. I remember she was a mechanic in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
At 19, she worked in World War II. Okay, so she wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty, right? She happened to be born into that kind of
let's get close to the mic too, like as if this might be a good lesson for everybody.
Well, when Life magazine did a story on her, and my mother bought the magazine, and I cut out the picture of Queen Elizabeth and I put it on my bulletin board. I took it with me when I finally got to college, when my life changed, and I always had her picture with me because she assumed another role. It was not the role she chose, and she did it to the best of her ability. She cared about the people. She followed the rules that she was born into. And she, can you imagine having to oversee, 52 countries that are in the Commonwealth?
Yeah, now she makes a good point because it is like, it's just like you're after, like, here you have to step up, and it's like you didn't want that life, but it's just like upon you, like as much as you like. I'm sure things are
and she did it, and she did it for 70 years. She did it.
Impressive. I still don't believe in it.
I think they're keeping her alive and just down below the ground, and she's still doing it. But also, she was a mechanic in World War II. Imagine being a mechanic on the Japanese side of the war. Yeah. You wouldn't have much to fix. All the kamikazes, just, they never made it back. You're just sitting around the shop. When are we going to fix something? They just build it and send it out.
Well, it is going to be interesting to see what happens now, because I think that a lot of these countries are going to want to take care of their own business and not pay them, anything.
Isn't that what we're all trying to do?
Yes, we are.
I think I already heard that like New Zealand wasn't going to try to leave or anything.
No, some of them are going to stick. Yeah, because of the history of it. It is that it's like people who like to have candles on the table at special occasions. They want to have the monarchy. That sets all of them. The Brits are set aside from everything else in the whole world. They have this thing, and look at the way they dress. Look at all that they do. They do a lot of things. And now the new king, he's an environmentalist. Thank goodness.
That's what kings do? I thought they should be out like starting wars, closing deals, chopping heads off, right? That's like not like Game of Thrones.
He has been an environmentalist all his life.
Okay. Wow.
So now let's see what he does.
So that's a good king.
He's a good king.
I still don't like it.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I wouldn't choose it.
I mean, we're in a country that fought a war to get away from them.
Oh, exactly. Well, I would never choose it. But what if it's by chance I was born into it?
Oh,
Could I step up and do it? I don't know.
I feel like I'd have to. I would step up to it, screw up a lot of things, fix some things, and then probably leave. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I'd want to, because that's like a spotlight that there's so much pressure on you to do stuff, and it's like probably stuff that just undermines your own sense of like worth. You're like, really, we got to do this, and you got to be the face to say, hey, this is what we're doing.
Didn't you play a king or a prince in that movie Gladiator?
Oh yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. I did. It was that's why I didn't last.
Well, it's fun.
Some would say it's like a puppet.
I think it's fun to look at history and to look at it and see if you were born at that time, would you, for instance, would you have decided to leave England and all your family and only go with like your mom and dad, or I don't know who, or maybe your brother or sister, and get on a very small ship and go to a new world that you know nothing about and say goodbye to everything that you know? Mm-hmm. Could you do it? And the only thing you could bring with you had to fit in like a pillowcase. You couldn't bring a suitcase.
Well, it's perfect because all I need is my cell phone and my laptop. I'm good.
You would go.
I travel. Yeah, throw my book bag on. Let's do it. No, but I mean, obviously, it is tough though because if you have like that relationship with your family, right? You love your family, but it's like you have to run this empire. It's like, well, I don't want to run the empire. That's probably the conversation they had like teenagers, just slamming the door. I don't want to be the queen, Mom. Just closing the door.
Yeah, you could do a good stand-up about that.
Oh, that's. I mean, it's a good. I mean, we could just talk about it right now.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about history and memory, which is a good segue.
Kevin's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. He's like, we're getting on to the purpose. Oh, no, the purpose was
last week. I called Justin to tell him what the topic was about 3 hours ago.
Okay, good.
Put zero thought into it.
But you'll love it.
Oh, yeah, it's great. No, it's just because, it's just fun. It's a good one.
I can't wait to hear
What is it?
It's on memory.
Okay,
yes.
Okay.
I remember. I still have it. I still have my memory.
Yeah. So history, memory, those are pretty intertwined. I think we're leaving the Queen talk in. That was a nice little history lesson. I didn't know she was a mechanic.
Yes.
I knew that. I do like the bit of Japanese mechanics in World War II. Just not doing anything.
No repair work.
Nope.
Welcome, folks, to Tea with Fran. High tea in honor of the Queen. I don't have any tea.
No.
Cheers.
Yeah. No, this happens to be lemon water.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't drink tea in her honor. All right. Well, Fran, we're off to a good start with some early memories of yours. That was a fun one that you admired the Queen that much at a young age. And where do you think that picture, do you still have the picture of the Queen you cut out?
I'm going to look. I have a box of Keep Forever. I'll look and see if it's in there.
See, what's crazy, like you're 80, I mean, you're 83. So you've seen a whole life of her being a public figure, this and that. You look at, I mean, we're like 30 years old, but you look at kids who are like 20, they probably don't even, I mean, that's like, oh yeah, it's the Queen. Like they don't care. All they care about is just laughing at the memes that are being made. All those little,
if it's on TikTok.
Yeah, if it's on TikTok, that's how they get all their information.
Yeah.
Well, memory is cool. And I think that's because it all is in our minds for the most part. You said earlier that we store memories all over, but
yes,
the brain is just a crazy, crazy thing. And I think it's so important that we talked about it a little bit last week, but you got to do what you can to protect your brain and protect your memories and obviously avoid injuries, but also avoid unhealthy habits, smoking, drinking, drug abuse, all that. But you, Fran, were in a bad car accident.
Yes.
15, 20-ish years ago, right?
On January 10th, 2000.
Okay. So 20 years ago.
Yes.
I kind of want to start there because this is amazing to me because you had to relearn your memories.
I did.
And if you want to just kind of share what your car accident was a little bit and then what the recovery was, I think people would find that pretty fascinating. I know I've always been amazed by it.
I was on the crossing road in our town. And this is a road that people use all the time. And I was on my side of the road. I had gone to a meeting. It was about 9:00 at night. I was on my way home. And all of a sudden, I thought an airplane was coming down on me. What I didn't realize, it was an oversized pickup truck, black pickup truck with big headlights. And it was being driven by a young man who was rushing to a fire. He was a volunteer fireman. And he was not on his side of the road. He hit me head on. He went up over me and landed on top of the car behind me. Well, I was knocked out. And it's amazing that I'm still here, truly. I was in a little Voyager. And it was like, as it collapsed, it sort of made like a little egg all around me. I did have... the front part of the car came over on my leg, so I had a lot of bruising there. My head hit something very hard, and of course, the airbag. Don't think for a minute that airbags don't hurt. They do, and
a lot of force.
And when I came to, I thought the car was on fire because that's the smell of the airbag. So I couldn't move. I was just trapped in this like little thing, and. Then the sirens came. Those are the most wonderful sounds when you were hurt. So every time I hear a siren to this day, I'm always thankful for them. And I always think about that they're getting there to help someone.
A sound tying into a memory.
Yes. And so they came and they cut me out of my car. And I went off to the hospital. What I didn't know is that the little supports that support the brain inside the skull snapped because I was hit at full speed. We have no idea how fast he was going, but he was in a hurry. And of course, he wanted to get to the fire, but he never got there. Okay. So I went to the hospital in Warwick, and the girl behind me went to the hospital in Morristown. What I didn't know at that time is that I couldn't remember. I couldn't read. I could not read for 2 years. And this was a real big problem in our family because I had been helping Dan and driving and taking care of accounts in Pennsylvania in the fabric world. And now suddenly I couldn't do anything. And so Dan really needed me, and but my friends couldn't always take me to the brain trauma clinic in Morristown. They were taking days off. They were so good to me. I had so many wonderful friends who would take a day, one of their sick days, and drive me and stay with me in Morristown. And I had to go 3 times a week. And if I'd had to test out of there, I'm not sure I would have ever gotten out of there. But I had 25 different caretakers. Everybody wanted me to get myself back, but I just couldn't remember things. They had me do things like go through old pictures and just line them up and see if I could remember being in that picture. I could not remember. It had like snapped. Something had snapped in my brain and it just would not come to me. And what I didn't realize that my main injury was the myofascia of my body. And that is the part that doctors in med school don't really get to see because they are dealing with a dead body. The live body, it's like take a piece of chicken and pull the skin up, and that mucus kind of thing, that's the fascial system.
Okay.
All right. Well, when you're alive, it's moving around all the time. It's supporting your organs. You know, as you want to stretch your arm out, it's stretching with you, that sort of thing. Well, mine, because it had split from just the energy of being hit at that force, never knew that was a problem. It split, and when it came back together, it came back like a tight body stocking. And of course, I went for a deep tissue massage therapy.
So your movement too and everything?
Everything. It was all over me. I just there's no way to tell you the pain for 2 years. The worst thing was the headaches. It was a throbbing. It was like my heart was beating here, and it didn't go away.
Oh my God.
It was just a miserable, miserable time. Well, I did get through it, and here I am. And I couldn't have done it unless Dan had given up his business. And he stayed home to be my life coach. He said, "We're going to get you back. I know we can do it." So one of the things they told me at the brain trauma clinic is that I had to try to learn something that I'd never learned before, something brand new.
Weird.
And so I chose the keyboard because I did not know how to read music and play the piano. So every day it was like starting over. I never could hold it in my brain because those connections were not there. They just weren't. And that was because the fascial system was pressing so hard on me. Well, we finally, with the help of the right doctor, Dr. Ajati, and also my wonderful physical therapist in McAfee, Karen Leonard, they found a place where they worked on the fascial system, the John Barnes Institute. So first I went to the one in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for a week, and it paused for 2 days. It stopped beating in my head. Then they said, you need more than a week. You need 2 solid weeks. And what I mean by that is that they stretch the fascial system. And 2 people work on you an hour at a time, and then the next 2 come and work an hour at a time. And they are pulling and pushing and digging every part of your body to get it stretched
It's like a
back.
deep tissue massage for 2 weeks straight.
Deeper than
and
that.
It's probably painful.
And they said, if you don't scream, we'll scream for you. I screamed for 2 weeks in Sedona, Arizona.
God.
And then, miraculously, the throbbing stopped. I could read. My life came back. They said I might need tune-ups from time to time. Oh, I did not want any tune-ups, because it had hurt so badly. But that's what saved me. And Dan said, I'll take you wherever it is in the world we're going. And so he was with me in Sedona, and he helped me through that. He got me through it every night. He picked me up. And of course, my face was swollen from crying and screaming. And we would have a little bit of dinner together, and we'd just talk about wonderful, good times. It helped me to really remember good times.
Yeah.
But the good thing is I was starting to remember.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I did learn is that you don't just store your memories in your head. There are places on your body where, as I was getting like a deep tissue massage, another memory would come, another memory. And so I said, I'm remembering things I have never remembered. And they said, that's where they're stored. It's not just here. We have learned that you store memories all over your body. So I just have to tell you that it was a wonderful experience when you get through it, but not during it.
Just amazing.
Thank God for all the doctors and everybody involved in that process.
Yes, yes.
And now I'm really like, it's funny. I got a message today from my, I go to Massage Envy. I got a message today that my usual girl who does my massages has an opening tomorrow for. I do deep tissue massage here and there, but I'm like, I might go now.
Yeah.
She reached out. I'm like, I might go. Might put an hour in.
Oh, do it.
At the time, it's in the middle of the day. I'm like, I don't know if I could do it, but I'm going to try to swing it.
You do it. I think that early on in our podcast that I mentioned that one of the things I used to always ask students is to try to remember the earliest memory that would come to them that nobody told them, that nobody ever talked about it. And just tell your parents this memory that you're thinking about. And then they have to sign the paper after you write it down and say, this is true. Nobody ever told you this. This is what you remember. Now, the surprise for me is that the best one ever was from a boy who was 11 years old, who remembered something that happened to him when he was 6 months old.
Wow.
And his mother arrived at school the next day, and with tears in her eyes, as she said, I kept it a secret from everyone. Here's what had happened. Since he was 6 months old, he could sit up. And she was bathing him in the sink in the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
And the phone rang. And she had already made the water the right temperature. But that's where her mistake was. The last water she put in was the hot water. And so the baby leaned back and the spigot was hot and it burned his back.
Oh.
And he cried. He started crying. So, of course, she hung up right away and ran to him. And he had this very red place on his back. And she never told her husband. She never told anybody. She kept it a secret. And this little boy remembered.
Wow.
6 months.
That's pain and trauma. People carry that, right? Isn't that like that's an easy one? Isn't that like almost easier to access than any other memory?
I took a class on how to remember 25 or 30 years ago. And one of the things they said is that if you want to remember something forever, you need to have it physically involved in what you're doing. You could be walking, running, jumping. You could be chewing gum. You could be anything that is physical, because then when you hear it, see it, or learn it, it will be stored in more than one place in your body or your brain.
Okay.
Interesting. So like when you're, okay, so like let's say, well, if you're running, you would remember something that happened when you were running?
Yes.
Or just another?
Well, it could be if you are running. All right, let's say, what would it be that you would run to? Okay, you're running to.
I remember running. We went across. I remember being a kid running across the beach to my mom when I was when I was lost. I remember that. Like, I remember her running. That's like, that's.
Well, and that was a very emotional moment because she was crying. I'm sure she was so glad to see you. Right. So like I used to tell kids, especially the classes that were not like, the superstar students who didn't have trouble testing. I would tell the kids that we're going to be doing a reading test where you had to remember the things in the paragraph and then answer the question. I would let everybody in the room chew gum, because chewing the gum when you're reading will help you to store all the information that is in that paragraph.
Interesting. Because is it also because you're chewing at like a pace or like a beat to the beat of how you read, or like
that? I don't know. It's
like
the movement.
Weird.
It's the movement.
Interesting.
Well, and just think about
I
little
need a piece.
kids.
I feel like I need a piece of gum like right now.
Little kids jumping rope and trying to learn the times tables. Jumping rope, that helps them because they're moving and that sticks.
Yeah. Wow. I guess I mean, you said I've heard of like what you were saying, how like you remember. You either remember traumatic things well, or if it's like so traumatic, you are able to bury it and like not have it be like a regularly accessed memory. But I think kind of what you're getting at, and it's the reason why you have the picture here on the table, the bears with all the apples and the bowl of apples, is how we attach memory to certain smells, sounds, tastes, and why do you have the bowl of apples?
It's my favorite season.
Yeah, I don't think I could see that. I also forgot to take the elephant down. Sometimes that blocks Fran.
I love this season. First of all, when I think about apples stacked up like in front of Pochuck Apple Farm, I always think about apple crunch, apple pie, football games. All the precious
football and apples.
Yeah.
Interesting. But you think about it. I've never put the two and two together.
All of a sudden it's autumn.
Wow.
Autumn in my head. I love it. And bears love apples. And that's why I love that picture of the bears. We forget that at this season, the bears are getting ready to go to sleep. And so they are feeding and they love apples. So watch for them. They may be there when you are picking apples. You don't know.
I'm trying to think. I definitely have like certain memories attached to like food. Obviously, as I've talked in the past, my mother's cooking has been important. So like smelling her like make pizza or a lasagna just takes you back to all of these different memories. And, when I was younger, if there'd be a bad snowstorm, it'd be snowing late at night. And we'd have the outside lights on, so you just see it coming down. She'd be making pizza, and that's just such a memory burned in. And then another one is having like sauce and pasta and ginger ale, specifically cranberry ginger ale, like the pink one, at my grandmother's house growing up, because I always had that type of ginger ale there. And it's just whenever my mother makes, I'm like, I'm a child again. And I think that's so cool how, it's a time machine through our memories.
Right. Yeah. We've been listening to the 70s mostly today, and on satellite.
Is that I hear music playing. Is that Adam?
That's Adam in the garden.
Okay.
But we were listening, and all of a sudden Adam said, "Oh my gosh." He said, "I'm just sitting on the school bus going to high school. That's the song they played every day." And he said, "I just can feel it." He said, I remember the shirt that I loved to wear to school. I can remember who sat near me on that bus.
Oh yeah.
And it's wonderful what music does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a few songs that like I hear and like they just resonate. They just like brings up like the thought of a person or whatever it is. And it's a nice feeling. But he was talking about smell, so that's something that when I had COVID, I lost for like I think it was almost a full year, like completely. It was like 100% gone for like I want to say 10 months. So that for me was like that was almost like it was just annoying because I felt like emotionally like disconnected from like a lot of things too, because there is like certain thing like of like smell walk in smelling a nice cooked meal or like a dessert, like even like a cup of coffee, like any of that, it just didn't, it was all just everything, just anything that was like had a very strong smell, like whether it was like cooking to coffee to like cutting onions, it all smelled the same. It smelled like this weird like kind of burnt like off smell. So like I mean, even like
you lost part of yourself.
Yeah, I did. Like I didn't know what I smelled. I still to this day, my smell is not. It came back, but it's not 100%. Like my cologne never smelled. Like I'm waiting for it to kind of like smell the same again. But like even like you know, laying in bed with a woman and not being able to smell her hair, like the shampoo. You know what I mean? It's just we smell the same. I'm like, what the hell? It's just emotionally, I just couldn't connect with like a lot of things, which that was something I caught on to, like, you know, throughout the COVID, you know, throughout after. I was like, what the hell's wrong with me? I'm like, oh, I mean, many things, but that's just, you know, kickstarting one.
It's just, you can't emotionally connect without your sense of smell. So.
Yeah, blame it on my loss. I suffered a great loss, my smell.
Oh, man. Fran, any, you know, you went over the apple pie, but any specific songs that bring back like a memory? Like, so, and I know this is probably a strong memory for you as well. I forget what year, maybe 2019 winter solstice. It was the last one we had with Dan.
Yeah.
And he sang. And just that, I just remember the room being so still and just, you know, everyone looking at Dan in a room, surprise, surprise. And how that song, I don't remember like the words of it. I know.
2 little boys.
Yeah. Okay. That was the one he said his uncle would sing it. And,
yes.
But that is such a memory burned into my head. And it's, you know, obviously one I cherish very much.
Me too.
But I guess what I was getting at is, do you have any songs that transport you maybe back to your youth or? Well,
yes. Because I was in the choir in high school, and we were the traveling choir. And one of the songs we always sang at the very end was "You'll Never Walk Alone." And I really loved that. And I needed that because, remember, I'm an only child. And one of the hardest things about being an only child is that I don't have anyone to remember with, you know, not until I had my own family. But once my mom was gone, I had no one to remember with.
Wow.
And it's really tough.
I understand that on a much smaller scale. I went to Yellowstone in 2011 and again in 2015. 2011, I was with my good friend of mine, Kyle, who we were traveling the country with. And then 2015, I was by myself. I was staying with friends at night, but I was going, you know, to all the sites and stops alone.
Sorry, what year was this?
2015, when I was living out in Utah. And I remember talking with someone like, oh, like how much are you loving it? I was like, I'm actually, you know, it's beautiful and amazing, of course, but I really didn't like not having someone to share it with.
Yes.
And the memories I have from the one 4 years prior are all much stronger in my head because I've talked to Kyle.
Yes.
Remember this? You know, remember these pictures. Where the one I went alone, really the biggest thing I remember from it is it was the only time I picked up a hitchhiker and got a bad vibe or bad energy. And, you know, I was in my early 20s, but I had picked up hitchhikers locally from the Appalachian Trail.
You picked up so many hitchhikers, you're bound to get one bad one. I'm sorry. They say don't pick them up. You pick up 30 hitchhikers, you're bound to hit one.
Yeah. I mean, those numbers make sense. So I remember I had like, oh yeah, I can give you some, you know, I got some apples and granola bars. And I remember I was like, all right, man, you know, see you. He goes, well, aren't you going that way? And I was like, ooh, I was like, oh no, I'm actually, you know, doing this. He goes, oh, well, what about that food you told me about? And I was like, yeah, here's apple granola bars. And I was like, I just left.
Did you give, when you fed him like apple, did you give it like a horse with your palm flat? You gotta be careful with those guys. You don't know what they're gonna do.
He got my finger.
He got your fingers?
Yeah.
Dude.
That I remember, like,
yeah, that's scary.
And that's a memory I pull away from. You know, I was there for 2 days exploring the park, and that's a memory that sticks out the most.
Wow.
Yeah.
That, and I think I offered to take a picture for this woman of like with her and her family, and she told me no. She was taking pictures of her kids. I was like, oh, you want a picture with all of you? She goes, no. Okay.
All right.
No full family.
See, we were talking about sassiness before.
Yeah.
You know, that's a certain level of sassy. That's just being a bitch. That's not even sassy.
There's levels to it.
Yeah, that's just being rude. Someone offers to take a photo of you and the family, or you and some people, say yes, you know?
Oh, sure.
Make the moment last.
Fran, how do you have any advice for folks out there that maybe have some bad memories? And do you have any coping ideas or things that, you know, obviously that I would say for you, you know, the accident is a bad memory. Mm-hmm. But the way you explained it as such a kind of a learning experience now, 20 years later.
Yes.
Do you have, you know, any advice like that for folks, like just to try to take those bad memories and look for silver linings? Is it that simple?
Well, when I went to China, I was a guest there.
China.
And I really did enjoy it. One of the things I learned from them is that when you have an event happen in your life, you do not say whether it's bad or good. You wait 10 years. It's what you do with what happens. Mm-hmm. And it's who you meet along the way. If you need caregivers, remember, everyone is your teacher. You learn something from everyone. And as long as you have support, you need a friend or you need a single person who cares about you, and then you can do anything. I think to be totally, totally alone, that to me is the nightmare. If you have no one who would even know, you could go missing and nobody would know and nobody would care. But you need one single person in your life. And if you have that, and most people have many, not only their immediate family, but they've got friends and more friends and casual friends and, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever. And it's, so you've got everything you need. What you need to be able to do is ask people for help when you need it. There are some people who don't want to bother anyone and they don't want to look weak or that they would need somebody else's help. Forget that. Do you know what makes you really happy?
Ooh, can I guess?
Helping somebody do something.
I was going to make a joke. I was going to say sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But but no, you're
right. You know what? One of the happiest things is to do something for someone else.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's almost selfish to say that that's one of the best things you can do. But helping others makes you happy, and you can get through anything. And you know what? I still have my arms and legs, and I see the veterans who come back and they have lost their legs, and yet they're still playing basketball in wheelchairs, and they're telling other people about how to get over things and how to keep pushing little steps. Everything is little steps, and sometimes a little step back, but little steps forward.
That 10-year rule is very interesting,
isn't it?
And I like that. I've never heard it described that way, but you go through something bad, and the old saying, can't see the forest through the trees, and when you're in the thick of it, you think this is a very bad thing, bad memory, but as you distance yourself, you can really learn and grow.
It's when you're in the moment, though, it's not a memory because you're living it, right? Until you look back at it, like, and especially when I feel like when it's like fresh, right? Like after, let's say something happened like a week ago and it was just terrible. It was like terrible. Like you think it's still there. It's still close, right? You haven't given itself some distance. So I think you have to kind of separate from it and allow that distance to be there, where some people get fixated on that one thing for so long, but you're missing out on like everything that's going on today or now, whatever, like all the other future plans you have.
When does something become a memory?
I think when you can go days with days or weeks where it doesn't cross your mind, and then you draw back to it. When it actually physically isn't on your mind when it's not in your thought process for a full day, full 24 hours.
And then it shows up when the music plays.
Yeah. There you go.
Something.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
It has to be out. It's in there, but it has to be like out of your everyday thing you think about.
Right. I fell off that stage when I was 17. 10 years later, I was married and I had 3 wonderful sons. So my happiness.
No need to brag.
I got to go find a stage to jump off of. All right. That's wrong. No need to brag.
But I thought it was the end of me. And it was really the door was going to open that would bring me true happiness. Yeah.
In the podcast too. I mean, your whole life. I mean, this is
fun something to review.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. Every night I'm reviewing. I didn't mean to do that, but this is helping me to review.
This podcast is a vehicle down memory lane for you.
Yes.
And for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Justin, do you have any memories you just feel like sharing? Anything that sticks out? Any memories you cherish, don't cherish? Your time is 30 seconds.
Yeah, anything.
My time is 30 seconds. How much time I got? I mean, there's just so much. I think to like just talk about them, it's just it doesn't do its justice. I mean, it does because you reminisce on it, you bring it back. But I wouldn't know where to start. You want to hear happy, sad, funny? You told me one thing that I totally forgot about. As soon as you said it, I'm like, oh, I remember it so vividly. So I'm going to tell the story. Kevin and I and our buddy used to landscape full time throughout, I think it was like after high school, really like throughout the summers into fall. We'd always just be cutting grass, doing patios, any of that. But we had, we were at this one house that we cut a lot of these houses on a weekly basis. We had like 90 lawns, however many it was. And we go there and it had pretty big field. And the house wasn't that big, but it was a nice bit of land. And I guess the daughter was there at the house taking care of the house because the father was ill. And the daughter, mind you, she was probably like 45. And my buddy's out on the lawnmower cutting the field. Kevin has like the leaf blower. He's going along the wood line. And it's fall cleanup, right? So I'm just like raking sticks, putting them on tarps, pulling them over to the truck or into the woods. And she comes out.
No, it starts with the dog.
Oh, the dog. Oh my God. He doesn't
even have the full memory.
I don't even know. That's why I need you. There's so much. So I get out of the truck. This was before we even get to work. I get out of the truck and this dog used to always come run over, have a toy and like play, right? Yeah. This dog comes running over to me. I'm like yelling its name. I forget its name, but this dog comes over and it's got a full deer head in its mouth and just wagging its tail. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, what? I'm like, I go to them like, you're not going to believe this. They see it. We're all freaking out, right? This woman comes out and then they go off to cut the lawn or whatever.
We start working and Justin starts talking.
Yeah, I start talking. Yeah, because this woman came out and she's like, yeah, the dog just keeps going. And she's like whacked out. She's like probably like 90 pounds, very frail, skinny. Looks like she drinks and smoked. Like she was smoked probably like 5 cigarettes in the time of us being there for an hour. But she's like, yeah, the dog keeps going over and like to the carcass and bringing in. We put it in the woods. Like he's still going in. And she's like, can you help me? Like I have like she had part of the carcass she put in her trash can in her kitchen.
Oh no!
And I'm like, legs. No. I'm like, she had deer legs. I walk in there. She like grabbed me, like pulled me in their house. I'm like, this is so weird, right? I look over and I see the 2 deer legs sticking out of it. I'm like, all right. Here's what we do. I'm like, I will get the car. I will get a shovel. I pick up the carcass, and they had this big, like almost like fire pit, like a big burn barrel. Right? I'm like, I'm gonna put the carcass in there. You get the legs. You put them in there, and when we leave, you're gonna torch the thing. You're gonna just burn it. Right? It'll just ashes to ashes, dust to dust, whatever. Right? So that's what I do. I take the thing, throw it in there. I'm like trying because it was like not fresh, but it was old enough but it was like still, it was pretty gross. It was not pretty. Right. So now I finish it. I'm like, I just want to leave. I'm like, I don't want to talk to this lady anymore because she's bugging the hell out of me. So then she's sitting on our deck and I'm like raking sticks and she's looking over me. She's like, yeah, keep raking those sticks, you sexy bitch. And I'm like, so now she's hitting on me in the most, like the meanest way, right? She called me a sexy bitch a lot. And I'm like, I just want to go. And meanwhile, Kevin and Kyle have no idea what's happening. They had no idea how to deal with the deer carcass. I was in this lady's home. She's sexually assaulting me, like, but I remember like, then getting to the truck, like just finishing up, getting to the truck, we load up the truck. I get in the car. I'm like, just go, like pull away, just pull away. They're like, what happened?
All I remember is Kyle going, "What was that all about?" And Justin goes, "We need to leave right now."
I was so over it. But
when we found out that she had called him a sexy bitch,
she was like coming over, like she was coming over to me, like kind of like I'm like, what is like? She was definitely wasted. Good for her though. She's shooting her shot. Maybe if I was a different landscaper, I would have stayed in the house and never left the house. But that's not me. Deer carcass in the kitchen, garbage can, big red flag. I'm not dating you. We're out of here.
Well, all I can say is she has very good taste, Justin.
Thank you. You know what? I never look back at. That was probably the best man she saw in a long time, and she was just going for it.
And that is why you tell Fran these things, because Fran sees it in a way I never would have looked at it that way.
Yeah. So anyone out there, I'll take care of a body for you.
Yes, you. Well, we won't say it again. Something that I find interesting is there's deja vu, of course, and I don't think any of us are
I love that movie.
Scientific enough to explain what deja vu is. Yeah. But it's freaky. I personally don't like it. I don't know if you guys...
Oh, I've experienced it.
I like it.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. But I've driven around, the country so much and drive, I drive a lot. I get deja vu, like I've tried to like think of a catchy name for it. So like I wrote down here like driving Javu, but that just doesn't roll. But
Driving with a Jew? What?
No.
A new show coming out?
Yes,
NBC or CBS?
yes, Sundays at 7.
Okay.
It's when you're driving down a road and it feels exactly like
You did that.
a completely different road. So one that definitely brings back memories is that Reservoir Road off of 23 to get into Oak Ridge.
Oh, yeah.
It has no power lines. It's really overgrown.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful road as far as,
I think it's a stagecoach road.
It possibly. So yeah, let's go with that. That sounds nice.
Mhm.
And
I think
it's
it is.
the reservoir's there. And I've been on that road when it's snowing and beautiful, when it's the leaves are changing, the sun's coming through. But I've been on it. I'm just like, am I back in Oregon right now? Am I back in Northern California? Like it transports me. And I've talked to other people that have driven around a lot. And I'm sure this probably used to happen to you and Dan with how much you drove around, just going down a street and being like, I feel like I've been here before, or this feels exactly.
I had deja vu today.
Did you?
Yeah. I had a doctor's appointment and I haven't been to this doctor in like a year. I've scheduled like a surgery. So I had to go in for like I put it off for so long. I'm like, let me just get it taken care of. So I'm going through his change. I'm going to be a woman. Justin's no more. I'm going to be a fool. I'm kidding. I would make a beautiful woman. But okay, besides the fact, I go to the doctor's office and it's huge. It's multi-level. It's a whole like group, right? And I remember walking, like I go to the spot. I'm like, I don't remember this. I'm like, which office was it? Because I went to a few different doctors. And I walk in and I go to this one like wing, right? And I have this, it was like the same conversation. I'm like, oh, I'm here to see, so and so. They're like, all right, name, like, oh, like you're in the wrong building. I was like, what do you mean? Like it's like down the hall, it's down the hallway, like down the hallway. I was like, last door on like the left. I was like, all right. And I walked in. I just like, I did this the first time I came in here and I'm doing it a year later. It was like the identical conversation. The thing, I went in, talked to the lady and I sat down in the same seat. I'm like, yeah, okay. It was just weird that, I mean, granted, it's a doctor's office. You know what you're in for, but it was like, I haven't been to that doctor in a year and I got like, I guess, I didn't remember which wing. That's not
deja vu.
I don't know, but it was just, yeah, that's deja vu though.
Deja vu is when something happens and you feel like you've done it before. This you've done before.
Oh, but that's the same. Well, deja vu. I mean, I've had.
If you felt like we'd had this conversation before and we hadn't,
I think
that would be deja vu.
Now I think it's deja vu. I'm sure we have.
Justin, that has nothing to do with driving Javu.
Driving Javu.
That's my next book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So memory. Yeah. That kind of. Fran, what can we do? Any advice to keep mentally sharp? I've been doing crossword puzzles now. Is that going to help me or hurt me?
Oh, I think it helps.
Could hurt you. It depends how sharp the pencil is. I don't run with the pencils.
Well, you have to eat right.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get enough sleep, and you definitely need exercise, because they just came out yesterday on the news that people who do 10,000 steps a day are 50% improved in terms of getting dementia. You have a much better chance of never getting it. And so keep moving.
So next time you see someone like coming up an escalator and you're walking down the flight of stairs, just know, be like, I'm better I'm going to live longer than you.
Yeah, take the stairs. Yeah, but really walk every day, because that's part of your circulation. Yeah. It's not just your heart. It's that second pump in the body, starting with your feet. So you have to move.
Yeah.
That, right. And write down things in case. I always have a notebook up by the bed, because if I wake up in the night and I can't go back to sleep, whatever I'm thinking about, I'll make notes about that, because it must be important, because it's bothering me. And so the next day you've got it and you'll remember it, because if you don't write it down,
it's gone. I went over this last time. I've had those with jokes. I'm like, oh, I'll never not remember this. And then an hour later, I'm like, I should have wrote it down. I'm like, I had it. It was there. It was good. Yeah. And then I've had it come back where I've lost something, and then it comes back. I'm like, oh my God. And then I freak out. Then I'm like, where's my phone? Where's my, I have to put it in.
And I think another thing is to try to learn something new all the time. Pay attention. Remember that the whole planet is your home. So keep an eye on it. Find some news about what's happening on the other side of the world. And just kind of, check the weather out. There's so many things to be curious about.
It literally is endless. Like I always think back to like when I was in high school and applying to like colleges, and I'm applying and I had no idea like what I want. I really had no idea. I did like a fine arts major. I never finished or whatever, but I'm like, I have no idea what like I want to do. And you think like now I look back, it's like there's so many things that like are like interesting. Like being a scuba diver would have been awesome, right? Like marine biologist, like something like just something different, like out there. Like the opportunities you can do, like anything that's out in the world is pretty much a job.
Yeah.
You know, you can turn it into work.
And take lots of pictures because it's really a lot of fun to try and organize like a book about you. The important things that have happened throughout your life and to look back on them and how you've grown.
When my grandfather passed, he wrote like a short book that he left to us.
Secretly.
Yeah, secretly. Didn't tell anybody. It was called the Things I Remember, the Way I Remember.
What a gift.
And it had just like certain moments in his life that were just like he can. Yeah, it just feels like as you're reading it, you can hear him you can almost hear him speaking it.
Beautiful.
And it's his point of view. And it's really that was an awesome thing. So that's on the bookshelf.
Oh, that is really a nice thing to do. I love it.
I got a copy somewhere at my house. I'll let you borrow it.
I'd love to read it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. What a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Memories. Yeah. You gotta protect them. There's a song lyric that goes, "I can't compete with memories. They never have to change." I always thought that was pretty good.
That really is.
Got to protect them.
Yeah.
Well, that was a memorable conversation. You guys want to get into a little Fran Mail?
Oh yeah, Fran Mail.
Okay. Well, what's out there?
I'm just snack. I got my goldfish. I'm like, Fran Mail, let's go.
I just want to some feedback I received on last week's episode and just the topic of purpose. Is my one person that wrote in says that they're not exactly sure what their purpose is, but as they've worked different jobs in their life, they feel like they're understanding it better and better. And I found this part interesting was whenever they go somewhere new, they want to help, they want to better the environment any way they can. They enjoy learning, but they feel that once they've exhausted that, they want to move on. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Like Johnny Appleseed, from the past, who walked around and planted apple trees everywhere he went. Mm-hmm. And after he had planted his trees, he moved on. That's what he was about. So this person, obviously, their life
is planting trees.
Is whatever, what he wants to do. And then when he's done it, he needs to move on.
This is actually the same person who
go continue
was becoming the TA down on the college, and they said some days is a little more daunting than others, but they're much more comfortable now.
Good. Good.
They're assisting in like a 200-person lecture, so they help the students one-on-one with maybe homework questions.
Oh, good.
His slight concern is if the professor ever calls out, then he's responsible, him and the other TA, to lead the class. So I hope if that does happen, he lets us know how it goes. But
yes,
he knows we support him. And
let me hear the question again. I actually I want to hear what his Fran Mail was.
That was just a follow up for the purpose. He was just saying how once he feels that he's helped better environment,
it's time to move on. Yeah. I think that's also like fulfilling too. Mm-hmm. When you can see something that you've been a part of and you create it, you turn it into something and you put your little stamp on it. Mm-hmm. You can say, "Hey, I did that," and walk away. And that's successful. It still runs good. What you leave on a good term. That's also powerful in itself. Like that.
Yes.
Another one was, and this person wrote in. I like the term they used. They said how great it is for people that know their sense of purpose to go out, but he was wondering if there's any advice, and I got some in my mind, as to what to do when life fog rolls in. Just the fog of day-to-day, work or school, personal relationships, things like that.
To clear the fog.
Yeah, because I mean, we've all had, quote unquote foggy days where it's like, what's going on? What am I doing?
I get foggy days. Like those are my days where like I feel like I don't get anything done. Like I still go through the day. I kind of do what I'm supposed to, or like what I think I'm supposed to. But it's just like I didn't like the sense of like worth wasn't there. It's just I find honestly like a deep clean. Like if you're in an office or you work from home, just clean out there and like go heavy on it. If it's something you don't use or haven't used in like a year, put it in a box, put it in a closet, get it out of there. Just kind of like clean. Yeah, I think, but keeping everything within arm's reach too. Like, very much like I think the fog comes too from also like busy people where you have so much going on. It's like tough to hone in on one thing. You go here, then you go there, you're bouncing around, and that's all I do. Right. So, I actually went to this was actually like a cool experience. Like I went to my therapist just to talk because I'd be like, everything's been going so good. I'm like, let me just go, chop it up with her and see, just throw some stuff to the wall, see what sticks, and just kind of go, dive in stuff. And that was like kind of gave me myself of like, oh, like I kind of know now. I know where I'm at. It didn't take anything traumatic or didn't take anything like that, bothersome, that was, kind of under my skin to go there, which usually like when I have like stuff that I'm like dealing with, I'm just like, I just need someone to, I feel like Tony Soprano sometimes because I'm like yelling in the guy, but, you go in there with a sense of like, it's just scheduled and you go in. And I left with a better understanding of where my direction's heading and how to, and nice. As far as how to get there. And I have every piece of the puzzle. Right. And the only thing, the key piece is time. A puzzle's not completed by dumping it out. I have every piece flipped over and I know what I know what it looks like. So now it's time to, let's put it together. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm putting together the puzzle and
takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just rereading what they wrote in. Is I misremembered it. Funny how that works. That he says taking a conscious, deliberate action towards even a small goal is what helps him, which I think is what we're all kind of recommending. Right. Do something small and just start building on that again. So rolling on. So that was just kind of a touch up.
And doing that small thing is one piece of a puzzle. Doing that small thing, just remember that. That's one piece of the puzzle. Go on to something else.
The camera.
Yeah. That's one piece of a puzzle. The next one, you got to turn over the next piece of the puzzle and you have to put in the work to do it. So...
All right.
And then eventually everything goes together and the universe makes sense.
So, yes. All right. So for the Fran Mail, I know we're kind of getting long on time, so we'll keep these short. And they're actually both, we're calling it Fran Mail. They're actually both for Justin.
I love it.
Okay.
Good.
The first one is 2 different people asked, how is not drinking going? Which I think you've kind of talked about a little bit. Yeah, it's
good. I don't even like think about it at this point anymore. I still like going out and hanging out with people. I'm very social as it is. So the booze.
He still goes out.
Yeah, I'm still out. I'm still having a good time.
He drives every time now.
Yeah, and I drive all the time. I like being in control too. So like this way I don't have to risk, drinking and driving. It's just, I don't know. I feel cleaner. I don't wake up with like a hangover, a headache. And I just crush seltzers. I drink, I'm always just, have a seltzer in hand. I'll drink a 6-pack of seltzers, but I don't care. I'm the most hydrated person out there, and I could, I'll be up the latest. So it's been good. It's been
good. That's good news.
And this next one, Fran, you can also chime in on this. It was Justin. Why do you think you get excited to be asked questions?
I love being put on the spot, and I love just organic, like the flow of things. Like I don't want to think about something like I don't want to think about a conversation before it's happening. I want to know. Just, hey, here's the question. Give me the answer. Don't let me get time to think about it. I want the answer. I want to take care of the question. I want to take care of it now.
So you believe just like that first
the pressure. Yeah, the pressure.
A first take.
First take. Yeah.
Do it live.
That's wonderful. Were you ever on a debate team?
No, but I recently did this like personality test, this test thing where it kind of puts you under like different categories. Kevin's like, oh, is he on the spectrum? He's on the spectrum. No, I'm not.
I wasn't thinking at all. That's you on yourself,
right? But
man.
no, it's like I'm thinking I'm an ENTJ or something, and it goes into like there's different categories and numbers. Yeah.
That's a popular
I'm a
thing.
Debater. That is my thing.
Really
so
I could just see it. I would want you on my debate team.
Even when it comes to a person, like some people. Are almost prejudiced where they judge you ahead of time, right? They just kind of put that line down and then they learn more about you and then they open it up. Where me, everybody's got kind of an equal. And I after taking the test, I read into it. I'm like, oh my, like it kind of hit the nail on the head. But I'm like, everyone kind of has an equal shot because I'm very much questioning their intent and and just kind of gauging to see who they are and what they are, versus just making a judgment up front.
I love it. That's great.
So
I guess my only follow up to that is, do you ever find yourself after a conversation wishing you had been prepared or wishing you had said something
every
different?
time? But it's you know what? There's always a better answer. And especially when you're asked a question, you give it time. It's only going to be, if you have time to prepare, it's great. But like, I think there's something about the pressure of making a decision on the spot. So that's where like stand-up's fun for me, where I have a joke and let's say it's not going the way I want it to, and like having to kind of pivot and maneuver and, within that moment, that's it. That moment it's now. You can't change it.
That's great.
And Fran, why do you enjoy being asked questions?
Why do I enjoy? I guess it's remembering, because most of the time it's because I've lived so long. There's something that happened in my life that could help someone else. So when they ask the question, it's so easy to share it.
That's great.
And that's how you learn, with questions, with answers. Mm-hmm. The answers don't have to, and they could be, they don't have to be a factual thing. Depends what you're talking about.
Alternative facts.
Alternative facts.
I'm going to remember that.
Look at that.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Well, this was a memorable episode.
It was great.
One for the books. And this is 19. We're going to have episode 20 next.
Yes.
Which I think we're just going to riff, right? We did, I think, episode 10, we just did a free for all.
I got some more Fran Mail questions.
Yeah, we go over Fran Mail, just kind of rip it.
All
very
right.
loose.
Okay.
Whatever's going on, you feel like talking about, we talk about.
I love it. We can talk about anything. So please write to us.
Yeah, anything.
Justin loves the questions.
So
does Fran.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
You didn't do the Gmail and all that. You always do your call out.
You know
and then
what?
I come in with when I close it out.
I didn't. Okay. But I forgot because I didn't write it down. Folks, you know where to find us. It's Tea with Fran podcast on Instagram and on YouTube. Yeah. And then you can email us, which has gotten a bunch of great Fran mail recently, at teawithfranmail@gmail.com.
Great.
Till next time.
Till next time.